Welcome to Mariano's Meetups. This is our favorite day of the week. It's Thirsty Thursday, where we get to learn about awesome spirits that we sell at the stores by experts like Jenna Murray. And today we're going to learn about Glenlivet. I have already pre-sampled my bottle, and I will tell you right off the bat, it is delicious. Today we're going to be working with Glenlivet 14, and Jenna's going to make 2 cocktails with us. We're really excited at Mariano's to be able to offer this customer experience for all of our customers, whether it's cooking, mixology, kids activities. This has been, obviously a very crazy time for all of us through navigating through COVID-19. But while we shelter in place and socially distance ourselves, we still can have some cocktails, which is nice, and not alone because we're all here together. Jenna is available to answer questions. There's a chat button in the middle of the screen. Just please make sure you ask as many questions as possible. We will get to all of your guys' questions. And be kind, because this is a totally new thing and we're in a crazy world and we all want to be nice to each other. And I think I covered everything. So if you don't want to be recorded, turn off your video monitor, because we do record these. So everyone who missed Jenna tonight can catch up with it another time. So Jenna, we're really excited to have you and Glenlivet today. So why don't you go ahead and get started?
Amazing. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody joining us on this Zoom call tonight to learn a little bit about Glenlivet. Of course, we are so proud to be able to sell Glenlivet in Mariano's location, so thank you for that, and I appreciate you for letting me come join and talk to everybody on the call tonight. So, that being said, we are going to be talking about Glenlivet 14 here, and there's just a couple of things that I want to reiterate to you before we get into the complicated cocktail. But what I will do is start with the easy cocktail with us tonight, so that we have something in hand while I talk to you a little bit about our brand. And then once we all have a drink, we'll chat, you can ask some questions, and then we'll go into the second cocktail demo. So to get us started, we're all here to enjoy a cocktail, right? It's Thursday, it's Thirsty Thursday. I'm here for that. It's been a long work day after a long weekend, so let's get into it. I'm taking a highball glass, but you can use anything, a pint glass, a little rocks glass, whatever you have is fine, as long as you keep your ratios slightly proportioned. And the reason that we're doing this cocktail is I really think any kind of Glenlivet that you have on hand can be used in a highball style cocktail. So to me, a highball is what I would call a little bit strong, but great for a hot summer day. The highball has a big history in Scotch whiskey. Scotch was actually the original spirit in the highball cocktail. So when we think about highballs, a lot of times we probably think vodka soda, gin and tonic, I don't know, Jameson ginger ale, for example. But all of those things are coming after the original highball cocktail, which was Scotch whiskey and some sort of sparkling soda water. So you can use any kind of soda water you like. Let's say you've been at home and you had, a little shindig at your on your back patio with your self or your partner or your kids this weekend, and you stocked up on some LaCroix. All good. I want you to think about some sort of flavor that you think would go with caramel, honey, some sweet characteristics. So I chose a black cherry soda today because that's what I had in my fridge. But if you have like a regular, no flavored sparkling soda or any kind of soda water, those work too. And you're just gonna do 1.5 ounces of some whiskey. And again, if you only came to the table with the second cocktail today, that's all right too. Sip a little bit of your whiskey neat. And then I am just topping that 1.5 ounce of whiskey with soda water and a lot of ice. And you really want to have a lot of ice so that it slowly dilutes. And then there's a couple of ways you could do this. You want to be careful. If you are using a wide peeler, obviously that's dangerous. So you want to really be careful to be peeling your lemon away from you. And again, this is 2 steps, your whiskey and some soda water. So super easy. And I see there you have, Amanda, you have Pellegrino, I think, yeah, works perfect. So Pellegrino really complements Glenlivet well because the effervescence in soda water brings out the chocolate characteristics of our whiskey. So after I peeled my lemon, I'm a little bit of a garnish. I love garnishes. So I'm taking a paring knife, again, very sharp is what you want. And I trimmed my lemon peel that I did with my lemons. You can see I peeled a little swath, and then I cut it into this beautiful flag. So if you want to impress your friends, you can cut it beautifully afterwards. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine too. You can just use your lemon swath. The only tip that I really have for that is you want to get as little of the pith as possible. So if you get a lot of that white part on the inside of your peel, just take a paring knife and like slowly remove it. That's just gonna add bitterness. So you don't really wanna add bitterness, you want the citrus. I'm gonna do a little squeeze of my peel over the top. I'm not using a straw today because I do not have any more paper straws, which I think are best. And my reusable straws are in the dishwasher. So I'm going without, but that's a delicious sipping highball. I mean, this is a great way to drink whiskey in the summer. And there you go, all the way to the top. Wonderful. And you could just ratio this however you like. If you feel like you just want a little nip of whiskey, you can do, you know, a little 1/4 ounce. But it is a beautiful summer sipping back patio cocktail.
So cheers.
Cheers to that. Like I said, I use black cherry. I think it complements Glenlivet today, and this is delicious. If you want suggestions for like some of the other Glenlivets, we have other soda pairings as well for those that I know Mariano's has because I've used them.
Awesome. What brand of black cherry soda are you using right now?
Waterloo.
Oh, all right, perfect. So anything would do. I mean, like a bubbly water or like a LaCroix water or anything.
LaCroix is fine. I usually have lots of different brands. I really like some of the flavors from AHA, which is kind of fairly new as well.
Right.
They work really well. But anything, if you're tasting your whiskey, for example, well, I had a little bit of 14-year earlier, and you smell it and you taste it and you think, I pick up peach in this whiskey. It will guaranteed complement itself with a peach sparkling water because it's just going to pull up and exaggerate all of those flavors. Okay.
I like it with this though. I mean, it's so refreshing and delicious just with like a neutral sparkling water. You're right. It's like a perfect summer refreshing drink.
And I think a lot of the times we've got whiskey purists, and maybe some of you are on this call, and that's okay. And maybe you're here because you really just love Glenlivet or you've seen me before. I don't know. But it's okay to be a whiskey purist. I'm glad that you guys are here and joining me because to expand what Scotch whiskey can do in a cocktail just shows all the variety of what can happen with single malts that I think we've stayed away from for some time. But they do work in drinks, and if we open our minds a little bit to that process and then we taste it and we love it, we'll continue to enjoy it in multiple ways. Whether that's neat or on the rocks, which I also love in certain moments, or you know, experimenting in a good cocktail. So yeah. So now that we all have a drink, I'll tell you maybe some fun tidbits about Glenlivet. Okay, and then we'll go into the next cocktail. Glenlivet has been around for a very, very long time. If you're not familiar with our brand, we're located in what is called the Speyside region of Scotland. And Scotch is broken down in categories by the regions that the distillery is located. So we distill this in Speyside, which I would call like the filet mignon of the steak. We all know that Scotch whiskey is the steak of whiskeys, whether that's Canadian, American, Japanese. We have rooted history. We're regarded as something that's fairly high quality. But the nicest place with the best water, the greatest elevation, and what we think is a great interaction with the weather component is in Speyside, and that's where we are located. We also have the, the luxury of being the first legal distillery in Speyside. So when we're talking about going back all the way to the 1800s, on every one of our bottles is this cute little date that says 1824. That is there for a reason, and that is because we were illegally distilling whiskey long before 1824. But in 1824, we signed the paperwork to become the first legal distillery in Speyside. And, this wasn't something that was like favorable. This was something that was very much looked down upon. All the distilleries around us weren't happy because they wanted to continue illegal distillation because they were making a lot of money without paying taxation. So although we were slightly unfavored, at the end of the day, we were the favorite and we tasted the best. So if you didn't know about the cute little 3-letter word that says "the" on our bottle, and why we aren't just called Glenlivet and we're called the Glenlivet, is because when we became legal in 1824, a lot of other distilleries in Speyside were putting Glenlivet on the bottle because it's actually the region of the area or the town that we're located. So there was no, patent on the name. So if you were another Scotch whiskey from the area, you could be whatever you were called, Glenlivet, so that people would want to buy it and drink it because we were known as the cream of the crop. So that little 3-letter word "the" made sure that when you bought it, you knew it was ours. So that's just a little cute story about our history. Any questions coming through so far?
Jenna, we have a question. Maybe you can, this specific question is, how is the 14 different from the 12? But maybe you could talk us through all the different ones that we might sell at Mariano's, even if we don't, just so we can understand, the different varieties.
Yes, sure. That's awesome. Okay, so 14 year is super unique only to the US. So I'm going to start before and then we'll get there. I see something says Glenlivet 12. Well, Glenlivet 12 is the classic, right? This is the originator. This is what started us all. It's an iconic whiskey. It's the #1 whiskey, Scotch whiskey in the world in sales. So we know we're doing something right with it. And from Glenlivet 12, our base is like fruity, floral, and very light. No peat involved. I won't get very geeky, but peaty means smoky, and we don't have it. So if you want to get geeky, you can send me a message on the side and we can talk a little bit more about what that is, because that's very scientific. But we don't involve that process. So fruit, floral, and very light are the things that you would want to remember about Glenlivet. And 12 year being kind of like the staple of the flavor profile of our region. And then growing from there in maturation experimentation. So the barrels. So for example, Founders Reserve, which I heard Billy said earlier, Founders Reserve is going to be aged in all American oak barrels. So what does that mean? That's the bourbon guy that maybe wants to try Scotch. So I call it the gateway Scotch because it really brings people into our category that enjoy bourbon. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Because it has all those honey caramel characteristics that bourbon does from the wood. Same goes for the 14. So once we move from Founders Reserve to 12, which is a split of bourbon and sherry cask. Bourbon cask imparts honey, sherry imparts spice. So we have for 12 year like a nice combination of both, like a nice little marriage of both American oak and European oak. And then for 14, which we're using for everything today, is going to be a cognac cask finished whiskey. So I personally think French oak is amazing because it's super porous and it has an opportunity to really impart a lot of flavor into the whiskey. We use French oak for our 15 year, but we don't use a French oak barrel that's held cognac before for that. So this is the first to market ever cognac finished whiskey that has come to the US from anybody. So we're kind of setting the bar pretty high. And so for that, we're very excited. So 14-year minimum aged whiskey in bourbon and sherry. So we're taking, like, let's say this is a bourbon barrel, this is a sherry barrel, putting those together and then finishing them in an ex-cognac barrel. And that ex-barrel, I like to do this to my geeky friends that like spirits. If you can figure it out, I'll give you a wink, but our parent company also owns a cognac. So if you can figure out what the barrel is by me saying that, you get an extra little point. I'm not technically supposed to tell you. So if you figure it out, you can, you win the prize of some class.
I think I have, I'm going to see if it's this one. Hold on. Keep going.
Okay, so I do see someone say for highballs, what kind of finishes work well? Okay, I hear someone that obviously really likes our scotches asking about Nadura. Nadura is cask strength and non-chill filtered. I would highly recommend not using those in a highball. I would stick to maybe our lower proof, because I think a highball should be for lower ABV kind of sipping beverages. I hope that answered your question. I think I see your name is Paul. Okay. I'm trying to see from here. It's a little small, but I can kind of see. So yeah, do you think you have it?
I don't know. It's the only one that I have.
Ooh, close. Close, because we are both, no, it's fine. Also a French company, so that makes a lot of sense. But it starts with an M and ends with Artel.
Oh.
So we are using those barrels to finish this whiskey. So we have like a very old, beautiful cognac supplying us with barrels. So it's going to, we know it's going to be soft and light. So I did have a little bit of this in a Glencairn. And for me, I smell all of those things. I get a little bit of cognac. I smell a little bit of like fermented grape. But it's not overpowering. I get everything that should be in Glenlivet anyway, which is like toffee, caramel, you know, all of those notes.
It does have, I love drinking this scotch because it does have like a real richness to it. It does have like a butteriness to it. It's definitely something that lingers after you taste it. And, but it's also good for mixing. So I know there's a lot of purists who don't like to use these types of brown spirits, scotch or bourbon or whatever, to mix drinks, but I mean, I think they make great drinks.
Yeah, so should we make one?
Sure. Does anyone have any questions, like before Jenna gets into the next cocktail, which is one of my all-time favorites of all time, and I love this.
I know, I'm so excited that this is the riff we do, because I love this cocktail too.
All right, so yeah, I think we're good to go. If you're ready, come on, sure.
Amazing. So if you set your highball aside, it won't go bad. It'll just be a little bit lighter, a little bit more watery, but that's fine. So enjoy it. And I'm going to sip it because I'm talking a lot. Okay. So for this one, we sent you all the ingredients you need. Don't worry about, if there's anybody out there that is worried about making cocktails with egg whites, we all know, if you watched some of the Mariano's Thirsty Thursdays before, there is a chickpea substitute that you can use called agua faba, so don't panic. And hopefully you Googled that before. But if you didn't, that is a substitute that we can use. But an egg white cocktail is something that adds a really creamy texture. I guarantee if you've ordered a cocktail before called a Clover Club, a New York sour, a whiskey sour, off the cuff, and it didn't list it on a menu in the restaurant you were in, you probably had an egg white in your cocktail and didn't know. So it's possible. But there are some things that you got to do to make sure that when you're making an egg white cocktail, you're doing it the right way and the healthy way. So in case you make a mistake, I always say, let's everybody get our shaker tin out, if you have one. If you don't have a shaker tin, you can use anything that is capable of locking together. So a mason jar, whatever you got, a pint glass, and maybe this other part. Any of the things, yeah, those are great. So anything that you're capable of shaking two things together. When you are doing egg white, I highly suggest building your drink in one part, if possible, and cracking your egg white in the other in case you get the yellow in it. Then you can dump it out and start it over. Or just like Amanda showed you, which I love, is have it in a little jar on the side ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna crack my egg white into my tin. And I've done this 2-3 times in a very busy bar, but you never know how it's gonna turn out. And even I make mistakes too. If you've made egg white cocktails before, you can do what I just did, which was crack it on the side of your tin so you form a line, and then you kind of, I don't know if you can see it, I'm coming. In this line here, I slowly let the egg white come out and leaving the yolk inside. Or you can do the like back and forth method. Either one of those works.
Jenna, I've never seen that before. I'm gonna try to practice that. That's amazing.
That's a good trick of the trade.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I'm gonna practice that this weekend.
I used to work at a very, very, very busy bar that made very fancy cocktails. So I did about 100 of those a night.
Whoa.
I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting back in my groove with this stay-at-home cocktail demo stuff I've been doing. Okay. So now that we have our egg white in one tin, I'm going to go back to the big one. But if you only have one, that's fine. Build it all together. Just make sure you don't get the yellow. I always start with the least expensive ingredient because if you mess up, again, you didn't waste your whiskey, you can start over. Making the next ingredient, simple syrup, is just equal parts sugar and water. I boil it and then I wait for it to cool. So I've got my simple syrup here. I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of that simple syrup. And if you have, you know, a tiny measuring cup, whatever you've got works. I'm using a jigger, obviously. So 3/4 ounce simple. And if I start to go too fast, just tell me to slow down. Okay, if you have one of these handy guys here, lemon press, you can cut your lemons in half and use that to juice. I really recommend using fresh squeezed juices, like as much as it's convenient to buy, you know, those little tubes of juice or little fruit juices. It will make a difference in your cocktail. So I either recommend doing this, or I actually bought fresh squeezed lemon juice from Mariano's, and I'm using that. So you're going to do another 3/4 parts lemon juice. And if you do buy the fresh squeezed juice from Mariano's, which I always do for my events, I talk to the guy, I have him squeeze me my juice, and then I pick it up. I come home and I do strain it through a fine strainer so that your cocktail isn't as gritty. If you get a lot of that pulp out, you'll have a nice, better texture in your drink. So after I bring it home and it's fresh squeezed, I strain it in like a deli container or back into its own container or whatever. Okay, simple, lemon. We got that. We've got our egg white. Star of the show. 2 ounces of Glenlivet 14. This is such a simple cocktail. It only has really 3 ingredients, but it looks fancy and it definitely impresses all of your friends. If you're not familiar with what it was originally called, it was called a New York Sour. So this is our riff on Amanda's favorite cocktail, the New York Sour. Okay, so once you have all that stuff, the best thing you want to do is have a little patience, which I know is hard to do, but in this time, all we have is time, so patience is easy. You want to shake this without ice first. So you're going to put all your ingredients into one, and you're going to shake it up without ice. This is going to emulsify all of your ingredients, and then also add a frothy characteristic. So give this a good shake. Incorporate all your ingredients, no ice. Here we go. And it doesn't have to be long, just a little bit of time. Make sure it all gets incorporated together. All right. Here we go. I've got my ice. So we're gonna shake again. This is when we get that fancy mixology shake going. Add your ice to your cocktail mixer or cocktail tin again. And you don't want to go overboard here. You can do less ice than you normally would in like you're shaking daiquiri or margarita or something, because we're waiting for the ice to completely disappear. So I've got just enough in there where I think you want to make sure it's sealed real good. This is an old shaker, so I got to give it a couple pounds so it seals. All right. You want to make sure that it's pretty tight. This pretty flush on your shaker, you're good to go. I'm going to shake this guy up for a minute. So if anybody has questions, now's the time to type them. And I wish I had like a fun one scotch, one whiskey, one beer, the song, while I do this. So I'll be here for a second. So everybody shake this up. Smile at the camera, show off to your friends. You really want to hear that ice dissipate. It takes a little bit long, but it's all right. Pass it on to your counterpart if you need to, if your arms are getting tired. Okay. If they haven't completely gone away in volume, that's okay. If you start to hear them be mini chips, that's where you want to be. So if you have a coupe at home, wonderful. If you don't, a sour drink is typically served in a rocks glass short, so you don't have to worry about having this fancy coupe glass unless you have one. A short rocks glass works. Anything works, actually. A Nick and Nora glass works. Anything that will hold your cocktail. What I'm doing now is what is called a fine strain. So let's say if you're a tea aficionado, you got a fine strainer, works. If you don't have a fine strainer, that's okay. The world is not going to end. It's a cocktail. But it does help get rid of the little ice chips in your drink. So once you have your strainer on top here, I'm just going to fine strain that into my coupe. And you can see already I'm getting this beautiful froth on top. Hopefully you're getting that too. And if you have a fine strainer and all your liquid's in there, I like to give it a little tap on the side to get out all that extra liquid and that good froth on top. I hope you're all still hanging in there. Okay, so like I said, not too complicated of the build, not too complicated of the pour here, but this is when you get an opportunity to try out a little skill. I'm using a spoon. If you don't have a bar spoon or anything, cool, doesn't matter. What you're gonna wanna do is go as close to the side of your glass as you possibly can and pour your red wine in so slow. So you wanna do this process slow. This creates a layer. If you have a bar spoon, I rest it on top of my drink. I pour my red wine on top, upside down, this way. Yes, Amanda, that way. And then pour the wine on top of the bubble of the spoon, slow, and what you will create is a layer. Right. You will get a beautiful New York sour. And I will say, it's one of my favorite drinks of all time. I'm gonna wipe my glass here quick. Got a little overzealous and come forward for you. So as you can see, hopefully you can see that this has a really nice red wine float on it. Oh, you did so good. I'm so happy about it. It's beautiful.
I love the bar spoon trick. I didn't know. You have like excellent tips that we haven't heard. But look how pretty this is, you guys. This is absolutely.
You did a really good job. I love it. It's better than mine.
I don't know about that, but I love the tricks, but I didn't really get a lot of foaminess out of my egg white. So I don't know if I just didn't shake it well enough. I feel like I need to work on my shaking.
That's okay. I think yours is pretty foamy, but it is a good trick is really honestly to really let that second shake last for quite a while. If you've ever seen like a Ramos Gin Fizz, which is the cocktail that has like the growing foam that's pretty thick, like above the glass, that all stems from a combo of the soda water that is added, but to the nature of shaking that cocktail for literally 3 minutes long. It takes a long time.
Right.
Getting that ice to disappear while you're shaking is key to a better froth and foam.
Got it.
Yes.
And then Paul would like to know does the egg white help with the float? Does it, or if you say you made this without an egg white, is that even possible?
You can float anything that has higher alcohol content with other high ABV spirits. But in this sort of a cocktail, in any kind of sour, having the egg white portion does help the float, yes. Because you're separating, the alcohol and the foam is already sort of separated. So you're adding another separation in. But again, you can float spirits. I mean, if you've ever had like a B52, I'm throwing it way back to some classics. But
it sounds pretty good.
I don't know if my mom's on here, but she's probably had a B52 in her life. We're from Wisconsin, so I think that was a popular thing there maybe. But yeah, layered anything, you can do them, but in this style, I tried to use other things besides red wine and it didn't work as well. So I don't know. I think it just depends on all the ingredients and what is more higher in alcohol or not.
No, that makes sense. And then, Paul has these great questions, by the way. This Paul person, you're very good. Another question he has is, with the egg white, can you make multiples in a row? Actually, and then to add to that, so he wants to know, can you make multiples in a row? And do you need to wash out the shaker? Because you really can't make more than one drink at a time, correct, when you're doing this method?
Okay. So I'm going to give you a cool tip. You can make any egg white cocktail for a large group of people in a blender. But I used to do this when I used to make massive quantities of like pisco sours. But what you won't get is as nice of a layered froth on top. But the cocktail will taste the same. So everything will be the same. You can make multiple. And then also in a shaker tin, you can definitely do 2, but I wouldn't go above 2.
Okay. That makes sense.
It'll get messy. You'll be like egg white all over.
It did, like, this shaker that I have is actually kind of small. So it definitely was, like, when I did the dry shake, it definitely was kind of like exploding. Yeah, that'll happen. If you have a Boston shaker, which is like tin on tin or a pint glass on tin, you should be able to fit 2, no problem. But again, you can make egg white cocktails in a blender. You just have to do the pulse.
Don't do like the full blend. Just do the little pulse, 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 pulse until you see it all emerge together.
Jenna, when I have a party, when we're allowed to party, I'm gonna have you over and I'll make you, I'll make a bunch of these in a blender.
Okay, I would love that.
We'll practice. Bob has another question from Bob is, a comment actually, which is cool. You don't need to use a fancy bar spoon. He's suggesting you can use like really any spoon.
You can use a plastic spoon. If you're at the beach, whatever it is, you just need something that has like a convex, like a little dome to be able to have the slow pour dissipate on both, like come down on both sides. So anything that you have that's like convex would be fine.
Okay, that makes sense. Justin Bradley says your dress is gorgeous and your bow, and that's from Amy and Evie. Did I say it right?
That's cute. Those are Steve's nieces.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. You do look awesome. You totally match the Glenlivet box. That's insane. And the color, the label, it's great. I love it.
Well, that's great. I mean, this drink is so delicious. I'm very impressed with myself today.
I haven't even tried it yet. I'm trying to make sure. Sarah, I think I got all of the, here's another message. I think I got all of the questions. Oh, how much wine do you float in it?
Okay. So for a typical sour cocktail, your ratios should be pretty much base spirits, and then all the rest of the ingredients would be equal. So for this, like we saw, it was 3/4 parts juice, 3/4 parts sugar, and so I add 3/4 parts wine. So 3¼ ounces.
Got it. Okay, Sarah let me know that some of you out there in Zoom land have made the drink. So if you have and you want to be showcased, can you hold it up and we'll spotlight you?
Oh yes, please do.
I see it. Hold on. Okay, I'm coming in for Anne Carlisle first, just because I saw hers or theirs first. Hold on. Wow.
Oh, nice. See, you can use anything. A wine glass is perfect. And actually, if you're using a wine glass and the drink is lower, the cocktail doesn't take up as much space. You get a beautiful layer if you tip the glass all the way almost to a 90 or a 45-degree angle.
I love that. Or Jenna, you can make a double.
Yeah, or hey, I'm all for that.
This
was such a short layer.
You did a really nice job with your cocktail.
My bartender did.
Thank you, bartender.
All right.
Awesome. Really great. Okay, let's go find. I know someone else held it up earlier. Gail, I think you made one. Did you make one, Gail? There we go. Oh, another wine glass. Love it.
Oh, let's see it.
That
looks great. That's my mom. Mom, I'm so impressed.
Is that your mom?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, hi, Mom.
We look the same.
Well, I mean, that's awesome. My mom usually joins, but she didn't today. But she did an awesome job. You've obviously been spending a lot of time with your mom mixing cocktails.
She's like, no, we haven't.
I have her off of mute, I think, but I don't.
I tried.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's good.
It looks awesome. Love it. So great.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Awesome. Let's see. Anybody else that we're missing? I think we got everybody. I love this drink. I'm like so excited to enjoy it. And today, Jen, I don't know if you know this, but it's National Burger Day.
I saw.
Enjoying this with a burger later tonight.
Why not?
I think it's the perfect kind of drink that goes with anything. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I really, really enjoyed showing you how to make some drinks. And again, nothing is better than a highball and a fun drink that you can use to show off to your friends.
Awesome. And Justin said he loves the Zoom. Thank you. We're happy to have everybody here, especially you. Thank you for coming. Stephanie wants to know, Jenna, if you have a cocktail book out, or are you working on a cocktail book?
I wish. I had time to write a cocktail book. I would have it out already. But I do post a lot of recipes on my Instagram.
All right,
So
cool. You
if
have a
you're
great
looking
Instagram.
for,
I
like-
like following you.
Yeah, so if you are looking for fun stuff, you can always find cocktail recipes there for all of our whiskeys, not just Glenlivet. So yeah.
Awesome. The Glenlivet is honestly, this is very special. I love the cognac cask. This is definitely a favorite. And I don't know, I think we're done with questions. This was like, you're so organized and like perfect. It was easy and awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Jenna, thank you. I can't wait to see you in person, hopefully, once we're allowed to have events in the store again. We love working with you and your team, and have all of our customers back in the stores, hopefully at some point, once things get lifted and there's some vaccines available. But we're really happy for everyone joining us on these Zooms. Oh, wait, are there custom labels? Do you do custom labels for this?
Oh, yes. Okay, so that is actually a very good point. We make custom labels. There's two ways to do this. You can catch them at a Mariano's store, maybe when we come back going into stores. And then maybe I'll be there giving out samples. Who knows?
That would be, we'd love that.
Oh, yeah, we could make that happen. That would be lovely. Or you can go online and create them now during this time and type in whatever you want. It does take a couple days, but it comes to your house. So those are little things that you can do for, Father's Day is coming. So
yeah, we just posted the link, Jenna. Sarah posted the link.
Amazing. Okay. So Father's Day is coming. Go grab a bottle, take it home. The label will get shipped to you. And you can, it literally applies right over the one that's there. And it looks so nice. It's gorgeous. If I had it, I have an example, but it's not readily by me. But you can write anything. Happy birthday, happy Father's Day. I don't know. I'm the Scotch Madam. Maybe your dad's the Scotch King. Whatever.
Oh, I like that. And that's our Instagram name. We posted it here, but the Scotch Madam is how you find Jenna on Instagram. And look at all of her beautiful posts.
Oh, yes. Please follow. Thank you. All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm going to go get a burger.
Awesome. I know we'll be working with you again soon. And thanks to everyone tonight. And thank you to Sarah, as always, for organizing and putting these together. She makes the end of our days fun. So we'll see everyone soon. You know where to find the schedule. And Jenna, we look forward to sipping with you another time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, slancha.
Lancha. I know, I love mine. I want to take a picture of it before it.
You should, because it's gorgeous.
We'll see everyone soon.
Bye.
Have a great night. Bye, everyone.